The University of Phoenix pioneered online learning. My name is Ella Kallish, and today I'm speaking with their Provost and Chief Academic Officer, John Woods, about how this model is evolving through the use of data analytics, adaptive learning, devices, and user experience design. John, thank you for joining me today. How significantly does having been the first to market in online learning give the University of Phoenix a competitive advantage over other colleges and universities that have moved more recently into this space, and how?
Well, I think as a pioneer, first and foremost in adult learning, we were the first institution expressly built for working adults, and so I think we had an advantage there. We've been at serving working adults longer than anyone else. I think we had a first mover advantage as a university for working adults, even predating online. Online is not the same. It takes a special kind of dedication to do it well. We're seeing now, even during the current crisis, where high schools and elementary schools, middle schools, colleges are finishing their semesters doing remote and online learning, that they're really scrambling to figure out how to do it. There's a difference between kind of doing it in crisis mode and being really, really good at it and at a best practice level. So as a first mover, I think we've had a long history, a lot of time to kind of refine how we design and build courses and how faculty teach them. That's obviously really helped us. We were years and years ahead of most of the institutions, other institutions, or just a handful when the U.S. Department of Education began allowing more instruction to be delivered online. There were just initially a handful that were part of a pilot project years and years ago. And now that everybody is doing it, we've been at it long enough that we continue to innovate while others are for sure figuring out how to be better at it. But hopefully our years and years of experience allow us to step ahead.
With regard to the advantage, understanding the technical landscape of online learning, you had an Office of Experience Design in Higher Education, a Center for Educational Instructional Technology Research, and a CX Design Center of Excellence. Are these all still in place, or have they been consolidated into an innovation lab?
I think over the years, you're right. Those things predate me, but they sort of, I think, became routinized or part of kind of just who we are and what we do, as opposed to naming and setting them up the way they were once structured. They just became kind of folded in as sort of operational units that do what they do.
How is technology changing the way you deliver education, and what are some of its challenges?
The capabilities, when folks first started delivering online learning, they were using Outlook Express. And so you were just exchanging really emails and attachments in the earliest days of online learning. And then you had the advent of the learning management system, which gave you a container that allowed many more capabilities, really enabled you to teach online with a number of different new strategies, and had a grade book in there and a place to submit assignments, and students could begin to experience multimedia within the platform. I think more recently you've seen folks do even more with video and multimedia and even synchronous components to the learning, all to make it increasingly more engaging for the learner. I think you've also seen great leaps forward in terms of the ability to look at large sets of data and understand student learning better, to assist you in either honing instruction or refining instructional design and course development. So I think that the technology is there to know more about what's happening, and to be able there to use those learnings to iterate and improve, either on the instruction side or on the content design and development side.
Are you using, I know I looked at some of your openings in the UX space, and they kind of focus on a need for individuals who design in the mobile device space. But with AR, VR, and particularly Nreal, and it's a mixed reality headset. Nreal was started by one of the engineers at a company called Magic Leap, which you may have heard of. He quit and he moved to China where he could get manufacturing and engineering done more cheaply, and has really come out ahead in headset design for augmented reality and applications designed in something called Unity. Now, the headsets, this particular new headset is available on all smartphones with plug and play. It's open source software that allows collaboration with other consumer electronic devices to deliver experiences direct to the end user. How are you currently developing for the AR VR platform?
I think the UX capabilities that you probably noted that we're seeking, we have a number of UX resources already, but it is a growing space. We leverage people with UX capabilities in the development and the ongoing iterations of our website, of our student portal, and of our classes. And so those are all digital experiences for a student, and folks with a UX, UI kind of skill set and background really help us in all those areas. One of the reasons we fully moved over about a year ago, but spent a full year making the transition to a new learning management system, was that it allows for students to access their courses on a mobile device. We had our own homegrown learning management system before, and it did not provide a mobile experience for the students. So mobile is really important to your point. We're redesigning our student portal, and it will be mobile friendly. And in terms of virtual reality and augmented reality, we haven't done any of that yet in our classes, but we're certainly making our classes more interactive and more engaging with video and multimedia. So I imagine that we might move in that direction at some point. I would say on virtual reality and AR, we're probably more in the discovery phase than delivery right now.
What kind of demographic changes have you seen in your student population? Are they getting younger and younger?
So when the university was first started, not only was it the university built for working adults, kind of the first of its kind, John Sperling set it up that it was even more specific than that in terms of its students. Students at that point in time, at its origin, were required to have 60 credits already completed. So we were a degree completion university. We were very much a school for people who had either completed community college or had completed a significant part of a degree at a four-year institution, and we're looking to finish. So there was a 60 credit requirement to come to the university back in the 70s. There was a requirement that you have a job and a letter from your employer proving that your employer knew you were going to go back to school and they were supportive of you doing so. And so we were really built for someone who had a job looking to move up into a better job and already had some college but was not a four-year degree complete. Over the years, the university has evolved a lot. Obviously, we're almost 50 years old, and that's true of just about probably any institution. At one point, we launched a 2-year institution affiliated with the University of Phoenix called Axia College, offering diplomas and associate degrees. And so for a number of years, we operated an institution that was more focused on students who have no credits. or very few credits. I would say now our demographic is probably closer to what we were at our origins than it maybe has been at any point since the 70s, in that most of our students are come to us with credits. About 75% of our students come to us with some credits. And the average age is probably very similar to what it was in the 70s. Average age is about 30 years old. We're better than 60% female, probably similar to our origins in many ways, I would say. Probably a little bit sort of unique maybe to us is that we are a minority majority institution. So, we still serve, working adults. So a lot of similarities to where we began, but kind of between the 70s and today, there's been different phases in the life of the institution, and therefore, different audiences served.
With more and more firms like Apple, Google, and Amazon no longer requiring four-year degrees as a condition for employment, and with most of the future workforce, which will be made up of Gen Zs and millennials who grew up using technology to learn, work, and play, and who reject traditional institutional learning for instead learning on the go, how is the University of Phoenix reimagining itself as an educator moving forward?
I think it's important first to acknowledge on that front that we've been hearing for 10, if not 20 years, that the degree is no longer needed, and there have been recent larger sort of strides in that direction, surely. But for a long time, we've heard that people don't need degrees anymore. It's not actually come to fruition. We believe that students who have degrees, and the data prove this out year after year, that students who have degrees have greater likelihood for significantly more lifetime earnings. And so degrees, I think, will always be important. Degrees also kind of manufacture, if you will, people who have more than just the skill they need to do the job. Critical thinking and communication and collaboration skills are learned not just in a training course that helps you plug A into B, but over the course of several courses. These are life skills, soft skills. So we think degrees are really important. That said, we're not oblivious to the fact that there are jobs that require training, upskilling, and there are companies that say degree not required. For that reason, we have tens of thousands of students who take courses from us. So they don't take degrees. They come to us with the intent of taking a course or a few courses or a small set of courses that are put together in a certificate. We have many of those offerings. We have a number of IT programs that are less than degrees.
Are they certifications instead?
Many of the IT programs prepare a student to take a certification. That's correct. And not just in IT. In any given year, we have thousands of teachers who come to us and take short 2-week courses that help them maintain their state licensure to be teachers. So while we have associates, bachelor's, master's, and even terminal degrees, we already serve many students who come to us wanting less than a degree.
It's sort of like modular learning at this point.
Yeah, I think it's important wherever possible that those modules, so that would be it a course or a certificate, have the potential for laddering into something else. So the student who says, I need to get these skills and I'm going to take those courses to do it, later on may decide that they have a career limitation, that because they don't have a degree or because they don't have a graduate degree, they can't move forward. And so hopefully courses that they've taken to help them do certain things will articulate into degree pathways. And so that we're really conscious that when we build things that might be less than degree, that they're transferable as a student often wants to do more perhaps at a later date, but often wants to do more and get credit for what they already know.
All jobs of the future will have a technical component. And since technology evolves faster and faster, employees will have to onboard and upskill faster and faster. More and more employers are providing upskilling on demand, anytime, anywhere, learning portals directly to their employees through any device or headset. Do you see this as an opportunity for the University of Phoenix to move a little bit further from an accredited model and instead to a modular learning model, partnering more closely with the private sector as clients, writing and delivering these tailored onboarding and upskilling curriculums, and then generating revenue by building, delivering, and administrating these tailored learning solutions, and then charging the client a fee per usage episode?
Oh, there's a lot in that. Yes, in big picture terms, all of that. We have some offerings that we built in partnership with outside entities that have broad appeal in the tech world, and we've offered them as courses, as certificates, and as part of degrees. As I said, we have people coming back to us for what is commonly referred to as short burst learning, just to take a single course. We also, I think it's really compelling to say we have over 1 million alumni, and so that's 1 million people who already have experienced and completed at the University of Phoenix, and many of our alumni come back and do a second degree from us. Many of our alumni might be people who took a master's of education and they're a teacher or a superintendent, and they come back and take our courses, our short courses to, as I said, maintain their state licensure or their certification. So we're big believers that short burst learning will continue to be more and more important, and we're offering ever more of that, those opportunities. I think one of the things that you said in your statement that really interested me was digital skills. We just like any university has a set of kind of general education skills that run across the curriculum. I mentioned some of those earlier, like critical thinking or collaboration. We've embraced very recently in last year a new general education skill that will be taught and learned through all of our courses and programs in digital literacy. And so that'll manifest itself in different ways in different disciplines, certainly, but it'll be that students will either be able to do some simple coding, or if they're a teacher, they'll be able to understand student learning data better because they've done some data analytics. I could go on, but digital literacy is a skill you'll see run across the curriculum, I think, increasingly, and we're doing that ourselves.
Companies like Apple, Google have their own online education portals free to the public. What's interesting about what they offer is because they also are designing the technologies, the courses that they offer are constantly and continuously improved upon day to day, week to week, that integrate new technologies. How does the University of Phoenix, for example, teach technology and constantly change their curriculum in an agile way, quickly, and as new technologies come into play?
Yeah, I think the University of Phoenix is better positioned than most institutions, and in particular maybe many of your more traditional institutions in that regard, because we revise courses at least every year, and so our courses are constantly being revised, and a revision, a complete overhaul often happens annually. So they're constantly iterated every time they're offered. They're improved, and a major overhaul happens at a minimum every year. And then you mentioned some of those companies who are producing their own courses or learning materials. Students can get credit for those things when they choose to get their degree. So they can test out of some of our courses because they've engaged in some of those learning experiences and not have to redo that work. They can get credit for what they already know. And then lastly, we partner with some of those companies and use some of their content in our courses. There's a place for what they do, and there's certainly a place for what we do. There's certainly some adjacency. If it were a Venn diagram, there'd be some overlap for sure. Both exist and will continue to exist because of the parts of the Venn diagram that don't overlap.
Do you limit the class size of your online courses? And if so, why?
We absolutely do. We have online classes, some as small as 5, 6 students, typically in the 20s or 30s. The reason we limit class size is because the instructor has to engage with all those students, and simply as a matter of practicality, an instructor can't engage in the same way with 100 plus students or 200 students as they can with smaller numbers. We expect them to provide rich and substantive feedback on assignments and to be very engaged on a daily basis with all the students in the class. And so it's simply not possible with massive courses. Some of the larger courses we offer have adaptive learning components in them where a student gets immediate feedback because they've done some work, and the assignment or the task is instantly evaluated and provides feedback back to the students, so that some of those classes can be a bit bigger.
How is it done?
Well, adaptive learning plugged into many of our courses allows for a student to submit something and immediately get feedback back. It is sort of the sheer nature of adaptive learning is that the student gets immediate feedback from their assignments.
And gets the feedback from the teacher directly, or is it an AI program?
Yeah, I wouldn't quite go so far as to say it's AI driven. And, there's coding and programming behind it. But I can take a quiz or a test and it can give me, it doesn't have to be graded. And not only do grades come back what is right and wrong, but more information to help a student understand why it was right or why it was wrong.
Do you see AI programs in the future that will be written to create virtual teaching assistants so that the class sizes could eventually become unlimited with every student receiving individual attention?
Larger, probably for what we do, probably not unlimited and completely automated. There's a humanized kind of, compassionate, empathetic element that, faculty bring to a course. And so while I think some of those things can be helpful, the goal isn't to maximize class size at the expense of compassion and empathy. So supporting technologies for sure, but not replacing.
What role will social media and influencers in the social media space play in promoting and driving students to a particular teacher or online curriculum?
I think you see some of that. I think you can go out there and get a Yelp review of a restaurant, and for a long time you've been able to go and see reviews of faculty by institutions. That's not new. I think in a world where there are a lot of choices, people are hungry to find advice and guidance, reviews, if you will, to help them separate those choices into a smaller set or ultimately their decision. So I think a lot of that is out there already, and students are utilizing that. We see we see reviews of institutions all the time.
How are you leveraging that?
We have 1 million alumni, like I said before. We have a lot of students who are either students or alumni who post reviews on those sites. We like to see that because we think we do a great job. When students ask us, are there any reviews? I suppose we could point them in the direction of those reviews, but leverage it probably isn't the right word. It happens organically. It's not something we can control. It's sort of the public, votes and weighs in on these things.
For example, do you build social media pages for your instructors?
No, we don't have social media pages for our instructors. Each of our campuses has a Facebook page. Those are very active, and students will post questions on the campus Facebook page, and we'll answer them. It might be when is commencement, or does anyone have a suggestion for what instructor I should ask for the finance or what have you. So those are active, but they're student driven. We weigh in and respond to questions that are posted there. I would think the other dimension of social media, I think if you look at LinkedIn or you look at, say, Twitter, we have an awful lot of experts who are interviewed, who give back to their disciplines, be it teaching or business or IT. We have great profiles out there of alumni. So on social media, I think you'll find a lot of, I think there were 750,000 or more people following the University of Phoenix on LinkedIn. So those are pretty vibrant communities where people can get a lot of information about the university.
Could students and influencers use social media to drive teachers to rock star status, making them the face of your brand and your driving force behind new student capture and participation?
I suppose they could. That would be difficult for us to make happen. Again, that's kind of content and sentiment that is student driven. We have thousands of faculty. And, recently I gave a commencement speech and I acknowledged our faculty, and I listed off some statistics. And I think they're in our annual academic report on our website. That the people who teach for us have 12 years on average teaching with the University of Phoenix, and they have 25 years on average experience in their fields. And so while most institutions can say some of our faculty have real world experience or some of our faculty have some really good real world experience, it's actually a requirement at the university that they not only have real world experience, but they be current in their field. And so when I rhymed off some statistics from our annual academic report, I was able to say X number of our faculty are superintendents and X number of our faculty are CEOs and chief nursing officers, and added up was hundreds of faculty who were really at the top of their fields and professionally who teach for us part-time to help our students, which is an amazing profile that we have. Could they be driven to rock star status in social media? I suppose they could, but that wouldn't be something we necessarily would be able to do.
And lastly, will teachers eventually become free agents, owning their teaching curriculum? And if you want them to teach for you, you'll pay them a fee based on their social rating or rock star status?
I don't know. They are already free agents. They can teach for different institutions, and some of them do. They have their own communities where they share information about the institutions they teach for and what they like about different institutions and how the different institutions vary a little bit. So those communities already exist. They get paid by the class generally, so they are free agents. And then you have a number of faculty who are full-time, who have not only teaching responsibilities, but maybe other administrative duties as well. And like any institution, we have a mix. I think the other element of your question is, could they be paid to teach their proprietary content? The institution, and I think many institutions today, like certain elements of a course to be standardized, therefore have the student experience be so varied from one class to the next. It allows us to analyze student performance in a course and to figure out what kinds of course elements are working and how well they're working and how to revise them. So when courses are completely custom to the instructor, the student experience tends to be less consistent, and the institution sometimes would lack the data to iteratively improve those courses. So I don't quite see that level of customization to the faculty member ever happening. We standardize certain elements, and then we expect instructors to augment and to supplement those courses, to bring their own content and life experiences and business experiences, world experiences, professional associations they bring that into the course to make it richer and more meaningful and more realistic. So that's the blend between kind of design built and custom built that we like to see for good reason, I think.
Thank you so much for participating in the interview. I really appreciate it. It's been really informative.